Hi, welcome to my video on find a perfect square trinomial by completing the square. Let's review. A perfect square is the square of a number. So 1 squared is 1 times 1, which is 1. 2 squared is 2 times 2, which is 4. 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9. So 1, 4, and 9 are perfect squares. The perfect square of a monomial expression is the square of the monomial. So x being squared is x times x squared. 2x being squared is 2x times 2x, which is 4x squared. And 5x all squared is 5x. And let's do a bracket times 5x gives us 25x squared. Using a multiplication sign with x's might cause some trouble, so let's use brackets on these when we square them. So x squared, 4x squared, and 25x squared are perfect square expressions because they're made of a monomial squared. Squaring a binomial expression results in a perfect square trinomial. So let's take x plus 2 and square it, so that's x plus 2 times x plus 2. So two binomials we're going to use FOIL. First, outside, inside, last. So that adds 2 x squared. You add the 2 of these, you're going to get 4x and leave the 4. And x plus 4 squared is x plus 4 times x plus 4, and FOIL again. First, x times x squared, x times 4 is 4x. Inside is 4 times x, which is 4x, and 4 times 4, which is 16. So that simplifies, add like terms, 8x plus 16. And again with x minus 3 all squared, x minus 3 times x minus 3. First, x times x squared, outside, x times negative 3x, inside, negative 3 times x, negative 3x, negative 3 times negative 3 plus 9, x squared minus 6x plus 9. And x minus 6 all squared is x minus 6 times x minus 6. And we're going to FOIL that, x times x squared, x outside, x times negative 6, negative 6x, inside negative 6 times x, and negative 6x, and last is negative 6 times negative 6 is plus 36, and we have x squared minus 12x plus 36. And you notice in the perfect square trinomial, all the last term is always positive. And notice that the square here is the 2 is being squared. So notice the 4 is being squared to get 16. And notice that 8 is a half of 16. 4 half. When I said 8 is the half of 16 is true, but it came from, the 16 came from 4 plus 4. And the 36 came from the 6, and the 6 is 12. And the 9 came from 3 and 3, which is the part of the 6. So let's look for a pattern here. In ax squared plus bx plus c equals, we don't need a 0 here, just ax squared plus bx plus c. If a is 0, then we'll get a 1x squared plus bx plus c. And that gives us, that works out to be x squared plus bx plus c. So ax squared plus bx plus c, if a is 1, then we get 1x squared, which turns out to be just x squared. 1 is understood. So let's look at each of the perfect square trinomials that we have up here. The first one, we have x squared plus 4x plus 4. The second one, we have x squared plus 8x plus 16. And the third one is x squared minus 6x plus 9. And the fourth one is x squared minus 12x plus 36. So the A is 1, the B is 4, and the C is 4. In this trinomial, A is 1, B is 8, C is 16. Number 3, A is 1, B is negative 6, C is 9. A is 1, B is negative 6, and C is 9. And the last one, A is 1, B is negative 12, C is 36. So notice that the C, how did we get the C? Well, we got the C from the 2 being squared, which is a half of 4. And we got the 16 from 4 being squared. 4 times 4 is 16, which is a half of the 8, because 8 is 4 plus 4. And again here, the 9 came from the negative 3 being squared, which is half of negative 6. And the 36 came from 6 squared, negative 6 squared, which is a half of the negative 12. So, if you look at it, if you take a half of 4, you will get 2. 2 squared is 4. Half of 8 is 4, which squared gives you 16. Half of negative 6 is negative 3 squared is 9. Half of negative 12 is negative 6, which is squared, it gives you 36. So the pattern is if you take the B and divide by 2 and square it, then you will get the C. So if you take the B, which is 4, take a half of it, you get 2, square, you get 4. Take B, which is 8, divide it by 2, you get 4. 4 squared is 16. Half of negative 6, negative 6, a half is negative 3 squared is 9. B is negative 12, a half of negative 12 is negative 6, squared is 36. So that's the pattern for working out the end result to make it a perfect square trinomial. So let's move over and work more on that pattern. So complete the square. Find the perfect square trinomial and factor each, because you're going to need that in the videos or in the topics that's coming next on completing the square and quadratic formula. Here we go. Let me do some for you, and then I'll just want you to see the pattern. Then you can pause the video and work each of yours out. See if you're right. B, x squared. B is 2. So C is B, which is 2, divided by 2 squared. So that's 1 squared, which is 1. So C is 1. So that means that we have x squared is 2x plus 1. C is a half of b squared. So that's your perfect square trinomial. What number do you add on here to get the perfect square trinomial? It's a half of b. Notice a is 1. It's a half of b squared. And to factor that, well, to factor that factorization is really, if you think about it, is x, and a half of the b is 1, so that's x plus 1 squared. Remember, the factorization of this is x plus 1 times x plus 1. So if you factor this trinomial, the product is 1, the sum is 2, has to be plus 1, which ends up to be x plus 1 squared. But the fast way is just take a half of that, because this is a perfect square trinomial. A half of 2 goes in right here, so half of 2 is plus 1, so it's x plus 1 squared. Do it fast. Number 2, b, a is 1, b is negative 8, so b is negative 8. So what is c? It's b, which is negative 8, over 2 squared. That's a negative 4 squared. So c is 16. So the trinomial is x squared minus 8x plus 16. And remember, If you wish to factor, that's your trinomial. And what is a half of the b? Half of b is negative 4, so that's x minus 4 squared. A half, whatever this half is, that's what goes in here to take this binomial and square it to give you this trinomial. Remember, when you factor this trinomial, x squared is x and x. The product is 16, the sum is 8. 16 to give you an 8 must be 4 and 4. And the product is positive, the sum is negative, it must be 2 negatives. So that's the factorization. And there it is written out as a 2 binomials squared. Again, the fast way, without doing this, is to take a half of the middle, the b, which is negative 4, so x minus 4 squared. And number 3, again, x squared plus 10x. b is 10. So b over 2 squared, b divided by 2 squared is 10 divided by 2 squared, which is 5 squared, which is 25. So that means c is the 25. So the factorization, x squared. So the 25 is added on to c is 25. So putting the 25 onto this binomial gives you a perfect square trinomial. And the factorization is x, and a half of b, half of plus 10 is a plus 5. It's whatever is here before you square it, plus 5. And again, the factorization of this trinomial is x and x, and 25 to give you 10 is 5 and 5. Because the product is positive 25 and the sum is plus 10, must be plus 5, which ends up to be x plus 5 all squared. And if you know your pattern, then pause the video and work each of these out before I do. And press play when you're done to see if you're right. Here we go. 4. We have a negative 3 for b. So negative 3 over 2 squared is, that can't simplify. That gives me 9 over 4. Don't need that bracket. So c is 9 over 4. So x squared minus 3x plus 9 over 4. And that factors, let's see, x, what is a half? A half of negative 3 is negative 3 over 2. So that's a negative 3 over 2 squared, all squared. Gives you this trinomial. And number 5, we have x squared plus 12x. We want to complete the square. So b is 12. So we have b, which is 12, divided by 2 squared. That's a 6 squared, which is 36. So c is 36. So that means x squared plus 12x plus 36 is a perfect square trinomial. And the factorization is x, a half of plus 12 is right there, 6 plus 6. So x plus 6 all squared is the factorization of this. Again, you can factor this out like I did up here. And you'll find that if you put x plus 6 times x plus 6 right here, like this, that's the factorization of this trinomial. Or if you squared, if you multiply this out by 4, you'll get that trinomial there. And number 6, b is negative 20. So c is b divided by 2 squared, which is negative 10 squared. So c becomes 100. So it's x squared minus 20x plus 100 is the perfect square trinomial. And the factorization is an x, a half of b divided by 2 is negative 10, so that's x minus 10 all squared. And number 7, b is 5, so we got 5 divided by 2 squared. 5 divided by 2 squared is 25 over 4. So we get a x squared plus 5x plus 25 over 4. And the factorization is an x, a half of, right, b divided by 2 is 5 over 2, positive 5 over 2, all squared is the factorization. And number 8, we have x squared minus 9x, perfect square trinomial. B is negative 9. So we got a negative 9 divided by 2 squared. That gives us 81 over 4. So C is 81 over 4. So x squared minus 9x, add on 81 over 4. That makes that a perfect square trinomial. And the factorization, to do it fast, is x. And what's a half of the b? Half of the negative 9 is a negative 9 over 2. Negative 9 over 2, all squared. And number 9, x squared plus 18, x, b is 18. 18 divided by 2 squared is 9 squared. So c is 81. So x squared plus 18x plus 81 is your perfect square trinomial, and the quick factorization is x. Half of plus 18 is whatever you have here, is b divided by 2, which is 9, so it's a plus 9. Or just look at this and you see the factorization. Because it's a perfect square trinomial, a half of this number is what goes in here, plus 9. So x plus 9 squared. And just to make sure, that should be x plus 9 times x plus 9. 9 times 9 is 81 as a product, and 9 plus 9 is 18 as a sum, and that's x plus 9. So if you FOIL that out, you will get that trinomial there, and there's the factorization written as a square. So that's completing the square. Practice, 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 because we'll need that in the next topic. If you like my video on completing the square, click the like button, subscribe button, and notification bell. Visit my website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content that I have on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained. Thank you for viewing my video.